Hi ladies and gentlemen, it is March 13th, 2017, and we are waiting for some events to possibly occur in the next few hours, next 36 hours or so. And again, like I said yesterday, I don't know what exactly it's going to be. It could be a pedophile raid, it could be the whole thing with the NYPD releasing the information on Weiner's laptop because the FBI won't. It could be a mass firing in the government. It could be going after the people who are doing the surveillance on Trump. I really don't know, but we're watching that still. The big event is we're still waiting for that to happen. The next thing I'd like you to do is know about the little link in the description box below from Hedge. It talks about the war in the government, something that I've been talking about for a long time, and the fact that this can get very, very bad. But it's not just me saying it or Matt Bracken or some other people, and I don't know how far he's gone with that. I really looked at it starting with the Boston bombing and of course 9/11. But at any rate, some crazy things are going on in the government, and it's not a very long article, so if you go down and take a look at that, I think it'll give you some information that could be very, very useful. And then, of course, Dr. Steve Pieczenik came out with his feeling on these wars that are going on. He basically, the article, Stop These Useless Wars. And the link to that is also in the description box below. And this is all assuming that YouTube isn't going to keep you from accessing those. But if they do, see if you can do it from another route. This article by Dr. Pieczenik is very important because I think he lays out the problems with the military-industrial complex and the generals, the very problems that I have talked about for a long time. Why, if I were Trump, and I'm not in the arena like he is, so I understand that, but getting these generals who have been raised up through the military-industrial complex system and taught specifically how to think inside that parameter is not helping Donald Trump or our nation. And I've resisted this thing with these generals for a long time, even the ones that were purged by Obama, because they still came up through the system. But certainly, not the ones that were allowed to stay by him. Mattis, he might be a great fighter. That's probably true. He's probably a great combatant commander. But the fact of the matter is, this whole thing, the way he's conducting Syria again, yeah, I want to go after ISIS, and Trump said he was going to. But this manner of doing this, you can't do it this way. And this is old school, and they just have to think outside the box. Do I have a solution for it? Probably, but what good would it be to vent to it? So what I'm saying to Dr. Pieczenik again, and to President Trump or anybody else who can handle this thing, stop looking at these generals for your solutions, for your help. There are such competent and well-schooled, extremely experienced field-grade officers in the 05-06 range, again being careful on the 06 colonel range, captain in the Navy. But like Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer, look at the experience he has. Yeah, he probably hasn't run big departments and all that, but how necessary really is that? We're talking about implementing policy right now, not about the nuts and bolts. We can get to those later. We've got to get the policy out there. So in the military, you have, a major objective out in the distance, right? In between that major objective, you have intermediate objectives. You're not, President Trump, going to get to your final objective by skipping the process of cleaning out your government and holding it accountable for its actions in the first place. It's just not going to work. And I know you think it will, but this isn't a business. This is a whole other thing. You're talking about warfare now, and it's a whole nother ball game. Okay? I appreciate everything you're doing, but it would be very, very much to your advantage and to the welfare of the nation and the world if you wouldn't listen to these people who have been brought up in and through the military-industrial complex and the deep state. It's going to backfire. It's not going to work very well unless you get really heavy-handed. Okay, and then the final thing I wanted to bring up was, well, it's not final. One more thing. I had to look at my watch because I go over so much. This thing with feminism, I said for a long time, silence is agreement. And you hear these feminists who want to get out there and talk about how bad Christians are in America and the patriarchy and all that in this country. And I saw a thing on YouTube where this woman had a hijab on, a very beautiful lady. And she was taking selfies of herself and saying, and I don't know, this may have been a parody, but the point is still made. And she says, you know, I've converted to Islam because the patriarchy here in the West and under Christianity is so terrible. And I like the liberation for women in Islam. Yeah, are you kidding me? Again, everything I said yesterday, the chains, not driving, beating up your wife for just disagreeing with her husband, the whole thing with genital mutilation. So why is it that Obama too, Madonna, Scarlett Johansson, Gloria Steinem, and of course, Michelle Obama and Linda Sansour, whatever her name is, still I can't get it right. Maybe because I don't want to. Maybe it's a form of an insult. But at any rate, they bring all this stuff here and do all these things and glorify Islam and don't tell about the bad side. That's deliberate deception. Of course, and I know everybody that's thinking is aware of that. But silence is agreement. So what they're actually saying is they agree with that, what that side of Islam is. They might be using it right now just for a primary immediate objective to dishonor and cause Trump problems and the conservatives. But it's still a lie. It's still a deception. And I saw this thing on YouTube where this guy, it's a new movie out, and this stuff is getting glorified. And I'm telling you, this is going to hurt us. He changes himself very, very well, kind of a light complected guy, but as a girl he was great. He did this whole transformation, but that's a lie. That's a deception. Can you imagine? You see that and you think you're going to go be with this girl, and it turns out to be a guy that's had this gender transition. That's a deception. That's a lie. So I don't care how they try to justify it, glorify it, condone it, push it, whatever, it's wrong. And that's just the bottom line, because fundamentally it is a lie. Now we get to the final thing. The Bundy trials, very disappointing as far as what I keep seeing. What am I talking about? Well, first of all, it was the government that is suppressing and oppressing people. And the courts, the Supreme Court, those people really aren't the final arbiters of the Constitution, it's the people. And at Bundy Ranch, at least at the point of trying to protect the Bundys from the violence of the BLM and what they had done, and I won't rehash all that, you can go back and look at my videos on that. They had threatened the Bundys physically, emotionally, mentally, financially, everything. And I'm saying, the grazing fees and all that's a separate issue. It's the manner in which this force was used. It was inappropriate. It was abuse of force. It was way beyond the use of force continuum. I was a law enforcement officer and a military police officer. I know what I'm talking about. And if I had officers act like the BLM and some of those other officers from the state that were out there doing the things they were doing, if I had any authority, I'd fire them for their actions because of how bad it was. It was the BLM that said they were going to hurt people, shoot people, all of that. And I'm not saying it was a good thing what happened at the wash there off of I-15, but that was primarily the BLM's fault because they had already been told to leave. I mean, this whole thing is absurd. They weren't even supposed to be there at that point. But they were pointing weapons at those people, and those people knew that they had to defend themselves against that kind of tyranny. My concern was at the Bundy Ranch itself, that they not do anything to the ranch itself or the people that were there. I'm talking about the BLM. But then I see these officers, state, county, BLM officers get up there and get this. I'll tell you what, they're up there because the prosecution wants a conviction. It doesn't care about the truth. The courts don't care about the truth. They want a conviction. Any pretense of justice, of weighing the truth against the lies, they're not doing that. They're stacking it so that they get a conviction. Even the judge is doing that, and I think we all understand that. But what really disgusted me is these law enforcement officers that are getting up there and crying about how afraid they were. Really? And then lie about the situation as it occurred. I could say prevarication, but no, they just really did lie. You know what? As a law enforcement officer, as a military officer, to see that kind of cowardice and prevarication, if it wasn't cowardice, it was acting. Either way, I wouldn't want that person to be having my back in a dangerous situation. I wouldn't trust them. If they don't want to tell the truth, if they don't want to stand up and be men and women, I guess these days, if they don't want to stand up for the truth, and they want to get up there and pretend about how afraid they were, really? Oh, wow. That kind of cowardice, we don't need to be having them wear a badge and a gun. I'm sorry, that's not necessary. They shouldn't even be in uniform carrying that badge and that gun. I guess I could go into more depth about it, but I think that's pretty much how I'm going to say it, and I think you understand what I'm saying. President Trump, that's why people are so upset about law enforcement in this country. First of all, the federal law enforcement agencies, the fleas, are overstepping their authority and abusing people, which you know about, and I know. But the local police and sheriffs have been doing it too, in lots of ways. And you can't fix that. I'm not saying you can't. But we can't just give a blanket, hey, everybody's great in law enforcement, because frankly, President Trump, it isn't true. I knew that when I was a police officer. I saw the abuses, and I complained about them. Oh yeah, I got ousted a little bit, but the fact of the matter is I didn't put up with it. And neither can you, sir. Those people that lied and prevaricated and exhibited that crime, that cowardice on the stand, they get no respect from me. None. And they won't from any law enforcement officer that's worth his salt. And I think Sheriff David Clark would agree with me. Well, my time's up, so I'll go, but I just wanted to get up this little quick video. Again, keep your eyes and ears open. Things could be happening. Again, I don't know the exact situation, but it should be happening in the next 36 hours or so, if they actually could pull it off. And again, I don't know all the details. Thanks for listening.